Okay. Well, I see that it is 5 o'clock, and with that, I will call the West Richland Special Workshop Meeting to order at 5. As for the date of August 8th, and with that, I'll ask Stephanie if you will call the roll, please.
All right, thank you. Brent Gary,
Here.
Richard Bloom,
Here.
David Fetto.
Here.
May Hayes. Kate Moran, present. John Smart.
Here.
Ben Stoker.
Here.
And Mayor Pro Tem Brink is running late. He had an AWC meeting in Seattle, so he is on his way.
Hired in the west side traffic, poor guy. I told him to run code, but I don't know if he's gonna do that or not. So with that, we will go ahead and give council a little update of what this meeting is here to do this evening. This is gonna be a status update to the status of the request for a text amendment. There will be 2 public hearings that will be had. Well, one of them at a planning commission meeting, and then also another one here at a city council meeting. Then there will also be 2 readings of this particular text amendment for council. So this is more of an informational status of where things are at. And you'll see the timeline in the presentation as Eric goes through that. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Eric. And if you would, please, I forgot to ask you earlier, could you present at the podium this evening?
Sure.
Like to make sure that our audience sees your smiling face. Look at that smile. It's good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Planning on doing it from my chair, which is okay. I cannot start my video because you stopped me.
Heads up earlier when we were having our staff meeting today. We could call IT and if we.
Stephanie's got it taken care of.
Thank you. I
Good.
apologize again for that.
I'm not that short, so I'm going to adjust the camera to show my face. Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, like the mayor said, tonight's more of an informational meeting just to give you a status of what's going on. And give you an update on the cannabis zoning code text amendment. So just to go over what we'll talk about tonight. Tonight we'll discuss the background of the amendment, what's being proposed and why. I'll provide you with the police response data to the Nirvana shop and some other locations. And you'll see what the timeline will be when you can expect to see it back for discussion and when the public can comment. So to go over the background, at the end of 2022, staff received a request to change the zoning code to allow cannabis sales by K&B Weaver LLC. Their request included allowing the use in the commercial general, the commercial limited, and the light industrial zoning properties in the city. Staff included the potential for cannabis sales in the recent city survey that showed 32% strongly supported, 16% somewhat supported, 18% were neutral, 8% were somewhat opposed, and 26% were strongly opposed, 26%. So given this information, staff took that draft ordinance to the Planning Commission for discussion at their July 13th meeting. Staff modified the original request to limit the use to just the industrial zoning district, and then limit the number of stores to just 1 in the city and added the state buffering requirements to the code. To date, I have received 27 emails in opposition to the amendment. So what's being proposed? As stated, staff has taken this to the Planning Commission at their August 17th meeting, and revised the original amendment for the public hearing. This hearing will provide the public an additional method to have their voice heard. The revised amendment changes the code prohibiting it outright in all zones to allowing it just in the light industrial zoning district, and limits the number of stores to 1. Pasco's recently adopted code allows up to 3. Additionally, a recent state law that was passed, the Senate Bill 5080, could allow for an additional license to be issued for social equity. To qualify for the social equity license, someone would need to live in a low-income neighborhood or community and have been convicted of a drug-related offense. However, if we limit the number of stores allowed, the State Cannabis and Liquor Board could not issue an additional license even for the social equity. There is currently 1 license held by K&B Weaver LLC for the city. The proposed amendment also establishes a 1,000-foot buffer from schools, parks, libraries, recreation centers, childcare centers, and public transit centers like the Flat Top Park Transit Center, and game arcades that are limited to 21 years and older. This requirement removes one of the light industrial areas, as there is a park within 1,000 feet, and Stephanie's going to pull up the zoning map so you can see that. And oh boy, yeah, scroll down to the bigger map. Do you have a laser pointer?
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate the help. So this light industrial area zoned parcel here would disqualify because of the Glen Memorial Park in the Brotherhood neighborhood. The other 2 areas, if you can scroll up a little bit, Stephanie. So this is the other light industrial zone properties in the city. And then also down here where the trust company and the other industrial buildings are already built out in that zone. So the Planning Commission, as I stated, requested some information on police calls to the existing Nirvana shop. And so Chief reached out to the Sheriff Department and was able to get the Benton County data, which is what you see here before you. The yellow highlighted calls are those that our local PD, West Richland PD, assisted with. So there's 22 local, or over the last year, there are 22 cases total for that shop of call outs, and 4 of which our department responded to. For comparison, I pulled a local grocery store and convenience store in the city that sell liquor, as those have similar impacts. And if you could pull up that, so the local grocery store had 140, and you can see the different call types that are there, just as you could on the Nirvana. And go ahead and progress to the next one. And this is a convenience store or C-store that for calls of service, and theirs was 114. You want to go back one? Go ahead. Can you go back, Stephanie? So there's the grocery store, 140. There's their Nirvana, 22. And I can email this PowerPoint to you so you can see it and look it over in more detail. And for the timeline, the timing of the amendment is the Planning Commission, like I said, had their workshop on the 13th of last month, and they reviewed it and had some questions. I've made some modifications to what they originally saw, and that will go for a public hearing for them on the 17th, so a week from Thursday. at 6 o'clock here at City Hall in the council chambers. The city council is tentatively scheduled to have their first reading and public hearing on September 19th and a second reading and action on October 3rd. As you can see, there is plenty of opportunity for the public input, and it is encouraged. I would like to also point out that this is the first text amendment that I've brought before council for full review due to the sensitivity of the amendment and provide the community with as much information and background and timelines as I can. So again, public comment is strongly encouraged. We like to have the public involved. Those who would like to participate can provide comments. There are multiple ways to do so. You can email planner@westrichland.org. You can mail me a letter if you want to go the old fashioned way at 3100 Belmont Boulevard in West Richland. And you can also show up to the public hearings, which there'll be two of, like I said, one before the Planning Commission, one before the council, and provide public testimony. And so with that, that is your update and information as far as where we're at now and where things are going.
So as Eric pointed out, there will be opportunities for us to go through and debate and discuss amongst ourselves. But I will ask that Eric send everybody this PowerPoint, and then also would encourage or ask Stephanie to post it also on the city website. So citizens can take a look at the same information that council has and dates and times of when public can comment. So other than any conversation in regards to pros, cons, so on and so forth, is there any other data, information, statistics that you could ask Eric to present or bring back to us, Councilman Stoker?
Yes, so I think many people are going to be interested, or those who are in favor, or at least are interested in the revenue sharing model. I'm not up to date on that. Can we get that presented to us as far as how the state shares that back with the municipalities?
Absolutely. I can get that information for you.
Besides, we'll get the statistics and the percentages, so on and so forth. But besides the sales tax revenue, there is also a state shared revenue that is another source that comes besides the sales tax as well. And then the council could also have the opportunity to direct any funds to a particular use if they choose to do so. Councilman Bloom?
I have a relatively simple question. Are we required to take action on such a request? Could council
Typically-
just vote no?
Council
No.
can vote no, absolutely. This is
Okay,
not something
and-
that you
and-
have to approve.
We've had discussions on marijuana, putting it on the survey, and there was a lot of discussions of saying we weren't going to believe what the survey said because the survey was just a survey. And I know personally, I expressed the opinion that it should go to a vote. And I know that historically the vote was 65% against legalizing marijuana in the first place in this city. I guess from a planning department priority, you seem to have invested a tremendous amount of effort into this, and you have a parking lot that's full of other things city council has asked you to do, which sort of means that probably you got direction from the mayor, but you never asked for any concurrence from the council. So I guess I'm a little upset. The last minute copy of what you were sending the planning commission that you sent to us just before I left for Parts North, you included a copy of the request that came in 2022, I assume. It looked like 2020. Was that the original request Was there a discussion with council when that request came in originally in 2022?
I can probably answer that and then you could follow up. Council, if you recall, we just got done with a budget and we showed budget shortfalls and we also discussed areas of where revenue sources could be had. And it's the council's responsibility to make these difficult decisions on whether it be this particular item that is before you in a text amendment, a levy lid lift, a bond, things in that nature. So since this is a funding opportunity for general fund monies, I felt that it was a necessity for us to have that conversation and have the council make those difficult decisions because we do have revenue shortfalls. We do have revenue needs. And this is an opportunity as a potential area of revenue sources that could be used in, I'll just throw out for an example, $3 million shortfall in infrastructure for park maintenance. So that is why it's here, is because the councils are the ones that are to make the decisions if we have opportunities for revenue sources. So I believe that should satisfy the answer.
It was also on my high priority list on the parking lot list, and that's why it's before you as well. So between the budget discussions that we've had and then having that on my high priority of parking lot list, that's why you see it before you. And we received a request from K&B Weaver LLC.
Councilmember Smart?
Yes, thank you. So I have a similar kind of train of thought and question. It does sort of strike me, I was going to ask, it strikes me as odd that this is coming up again. And I just heard your explanation. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. I understand it. But I also understand that we've been through this before. And I agree with Councilmember Bloom that a survey is just a survey. It's not a vote. We saw evidence of skewing in the survey. I'm not saying it's unrepresentative in total, but it's not exactly statistically significant in my mind. So with that said, I was going to ask, it did just sort of strike me as odd that we're putting effort and time into this. And especially without having brought up yet to date, the potential revenue that Councilmember Stoker may be asked about. So you've stated that revenue is the reason for this discussion, and yet we have no idea what the revenue might be. And frankly, I don't think you'll be able to actually satisfy to give me information to my satisfaction that's going to be able to look in the crystal ball and say what the revenue might be. But I'm willing to listen to that. Nevertheless, I was going to ask, why such an emphasis on this particular revenue stream? And have we had other code amendment requests in this city that have gotten this kind of attention? I'm just scraping for a comparison. Like when somebody comes to us for a code, and maybe we have, and I'd just like to hear if you have some examples, because I'm trying to understand if this is a super special effort just for this marijuana shop requestee, or if we give this courtesy of all this energy to just anybody that comes along and wants to see a code amendment to our city code.
So just this year, you've had 2 text amendments that have come to you that were requested by outside agencies or individuals. So the school district came and asked to have their FFA lot down on Keene Road. That was requested by the school district. And then I think just at your last meeting, you approved, or maybe the meeting before, you approved a paint booth text amendment that was, again, a request by an individual who owned property that was trying to sell it for some car repair shop. So this isn't special. It's not receiving any benefit that anyone else wouldn't get. They submitted a text amendment application. They paid for it. They put their money towards it. So this isn't something that we're wasting city staff time on, so to speak, because someone's paid me to take this through. And so that's why you're seeing it this evening. And then also for the same reasons that the mayor brought up, is this was on the discussion for budgetary purposes. But if someone submits an application to me and wants to change the code, it is definitely something that gets brought up and is part of a discussion. I do believe this went before the CD subcommittee shortly after I received the initial application, and it was discussed there. And so instead of having a CD subcommittee and giving just the committee an update, I thought it would be good to give the full council an update just because of the type of application this is.
Yeah, I appreciate that explanation, and it's all sounds on the up. I wanted to give you the chance to voice that. I wanted to hear it. Hopefully council found some value. I will ask also, what is the most, so it sounds like the agenda, as you've pointed out, is another hearing correct me if I'm wrong, I was jotting down the notes, August 17th for the planning commission hearing, September 19th, city council, it's a presentation, but not a hearing. Can you please repeat that? And then the public hearing is on October 3rd. No, I got that wrong. So please correct me. So I'm sure other people.
So the
couldn't
planning
write any
commission's
fast.
public hearing is scheduled. It's been notified. We sent it out. As I've stated, I've received 27 comments already. That will be on August 17th at 6 o'clock here in the council chambers. It is tentatively scheduled to have a public hearing before council in their first reading on September 19th. And then their council will have their second reading and a decision or action on October 3rd.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I had the last two reversed.
Yeah, and we'll send you out the PowerPoint that has the.
Of course, yes.
Okay.
All right, well, and then so that is the most expedient method and procedure that we can apply to this, given the fact that you received the application and it goes through these hearings and so forth. There was no opportunity for council to just vote on it on a standard council meeting to have it brought up, or is it your opinion that it had to have all these public hearings and survey and so forth, or was it just something we could have maybe dispatched more quickly?
No, because of the type of decision it is, it's a land use decision. It does have to go through the planning commission first before council can take action on it.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Councilmember Moran?
Thank you. I'm wondering if the meeting from the Planning Commission, the workshop that they had on July 13th, is that available on the YouTube channel for folks to watch if they missed it or if they would like to see it?
Bethany, can you answer that question? I don't know if you heard that. You were making notes.
At this time, the only meetings that we post on YouTube are city council meetings.
Would we be able to make an exception? I don't know if that's considered making an action at a special meeting, though.
It's available on the city website as far as meetings and agendas, correct?
The video is not online, but the meeting information packet is available on our website. And then once the planning commission has their next meeting, the approved minutes will be posted.
It was a pretty quick meeting. Really, the only thing they asked me for was to see what the police data was to provide that. So it was a pretty fast meeting, to be honest. It didn't last very long at all. John was there, so he can verify that. It was probably 15-20 minute meeting with the planning commission, again, just asking me for the police data. They didn't have any comments on the text or anything else.
Okay, it might be something we might look into in the future. I don't want to make an action during a special meeting, but just something we might want to look into the future, maybe.
And we'll also lost my train of thought. Councilman Smart? Yeah.
Yeah, same topic. So is this meeting recording posted on the website? So the recording is and the video? Yes, okay. Thank you.
Very good. Alrighty, so we'll get that information, and then my train of thought came back. We'll also share with the planning commission what the monetary, the financial aspect of it is as far as that goes too. That might be some good information. And if there's any other questions that you might have, do feel free to send an email to Eric as far as any intel or information that you'd like to see. Councilman Bloom, before we adjourn.
One quick question, when, the, um, site was being argued over on, Arena Road, the daycare center that was within 1,000 feet didn't qualify as a daycare center. Is the wording in here using the state licensed daycare vice, whatever the other daycare in that strip mall was, are we using that same definition? And have we looked at the county area near that light industrial to see if there are licensed daycares in that county area? Because otherwise we may be close to, chasing nothing as far as locations that would be eligible.
I didn't pull up daycare information that it would qualify as the same definition as the state law is. That's where I pulled this information. So it'd be the same as far as if they qualify as a daycare facility or not. If it's someone who babysits other people's kids every day, probably wouldn't qualify as the daycare. But if they actually have a licensed daycare facility, then that would definitely be taken into consideration.
Well, it was more than just a licensed daycare. It was more subtle than that. It was some.
They weren't open X amount of days. There was a time frame issue, not licensed, not 20 or not 7 days a week kind of scenario, or 6 days a week, I believe it was, if I recall.
I'll look into that, Richard, and figure that out.
All right, council, thank you very much for your time this evening. We'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 5:27.